Happy Father's Day, everybody. It's 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. So hopefully there's a few people out there to join me. We're going to finish our welcome pillow this evening. These are really fun. I enjoy these little pillows, and they're so easy, and they turn out so cute. Hi, Maria. Oh, hi, Garnet. People are coming in. Hello, everybody. Deb, Denise. Oh, hi, Denise. Make sure you say something and write a comment that you can hear me okay. Is everything working tonight? I think it is. Hi, Deb. Is everybody having a nice day? It's kind of cool today. The sun's finally come out here, just in time for class, so it heats my room up. It was nice and cool, but now it's got warm in here. Hi, Garnet. Hi, Sharon. How is everybody this evening? Sounding good? You can hear me okay? Good. Oh, hi, Marcia. Yeah, make sure everybody says something when they get in here so that I know you can hear me okay. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Deb. We have several Debs that come to class, so. This is Deb. Oh, I got a little thumbs up from Marcia. The little hearts and the little dancing things are cute that come across the screen. Oh my goodness, everybody's coming in. Oh, Pam. Hi, Pam. Second here, I think I missed a couple people. Marcia. See, Pam Dietz. Hi, Pam. Teresa. Cool. Just got back from Chicago. Oh, you got back from Chicago? Hi, Teresa. Hi, Pat. How is everybody? Yeah, the little bubbles are so cute. They just dance across the screen randomly. It's funny. It's amazing what excites me, right? I've been embroidering all day on my blocks for my block swap. Oh, Denise, you're working on your block swap, huh? Is that for the sassy sewing sisters? Oh, Lori, you're watching too. Lori's watching too. Cool. Hi, Lori. Teresa's got thumbs up, so you must be able to hear me okay. Awesome. Oh, but here's more little thumbs ups going. Cool. What we're gonna do, this is good. This is such a fun little project, and to put it together is not hard. But there's a couple really cool things that I figured out as I was working on them. So I'll show you a couple things tonight. About how I like trim the inner panel and some stuff like that, because they have Kimberbell has these awesome rulers. They're called orange pop rulers, and I don't know if all of you have those or not, but we've been carrying them at the store. Hi, Lori. Oh, hi, Barb. So did everybody have a nice Father's Day with their family? I went up and saw my dad. He even let me pay for lunch today. That's unusual, because I grabbed the ticket out of the lady's hand. He never likes it if I take him to dinner, so I can usually get him to let me do it a couple times a year, like for his birthday and for Father's Day. So, but I have to always grab the ticket real quick before he gets a hold of it. So we got a few more people coming in. We'll wait just a couple minutes here until we get a few more people in here. I know people were busy today, so a lot of people said they were going to be watching the video later because it would be the holiday and everything. Hi, Margaret. So we're getting some people in here. Yeah, I got home about, I don't know, 4:30, 4:45. I always like to get home a little early because I do a little bit of pre-sewing before we start, so that you don't have to watch me sew every little piece of this. Oh, hi, Clara. Good, you can hear me too, Margaret. That's awesome. Hi, Clara. Okay, and also I put up on the group last night, I think some of you have seen it, the new settee pillow. So here is Home of the Brave. I thought it turned out good. I like it. I like the fabric was so cute. This is the back. The backing's neat. couldn't see the backing in the picture. So, and I did some, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the red is actually metallic thread. So I thought that was kind of neat, and I put a little bit of glitter vinyl in there. And some applique with a little E-stitch. If I get a little closer, I think you can see the little E-stitches in there. So when we're going to do this as the sew along next week and the week after, so it'll be done before July 4th. And we're going to mainly do the embroidery part will be the center panel, because I did something a little different with these. So we're going to embroider these. The outside ones are pretty easy. So we're going to embroider the center panel next week, so I can show you what I did with Home and Brave. I cut those. I don't often pre-cut my fabric, and like we did last week with the welcome, I don't often pre-cut the letters or the applique fabrics, but it works much better, especially if you're using like this one. If you can see, it has an E-stitch, like a traditional like blanket stitch around it. So that's why I pre-cut things. Where do I buy my glitter vinyl? Oh, for the stars. The glitter vinyl I usually get from, I've gotten it several places. I buy stuff online at Specialty. It's specialty-graphics.com, and I buy sheets online. But the glitter vinyl at Hobby Lobby is not terrible. And I don't like the Cricut stuff too well, but I buy the Hobby Lobby brand, and it was fine. I've used that with several of my projects, and it's worked fine. So the Hobby Lobby, what do they call it, Paper Studio brand that Hobby Lobby does. I'm not real hip on some of their stuff, but that isn't bad. The glitter vinyl's been fine. Keep losing you, might have to watch later. Oh, sorry, Marcia. Yeah, sometimes if your internet doesn't cooperate with you, huh? You like that, Pat? I really liked the pillow. I was very happy with it. And I found this fabric. The fabric was so cute. It was a whole line of fabric. What do they call it? Emma and Mila. And it's at Walmart. They carry this little designer fabric now, and all of it was in that line, including the backing. So I thought it was kind of neat. They had it like in 2-yard pre-cuts. So I got several different ones. So anyway, this is going to be next week, the 23rd and the 30th sew along. We're going to work on this pillow. We'll put it together the last week, and we'll do the embroidery next week. Okay? And if anybody wants to purchase the design, it's $10. You can you can personal message me if you would like it, and I'll send you a PayPal invoice. It's easier if you personal message me, because then it's easier for me to keep track of them then. So instead of commenting in this video, just go ahead and personal message me if you want the design of the pillow. So it's $10. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight, second here, let me lay this down. We're going to finish up our welcome pillow. This is my welcome pillow I made before. And I'm going to show you how to trim or square up this center panel. And then we'll do the little edging. It's all little 2.5-inch squares. And then I'll show you how to make this envelope back on the back. And this pillow turns out 12 by 16. So you can go get a, oh, hi, Connie. So you can go get a standard 12 by 16 pillow form, like at Hobby Lobby, and they fit really well. So that's what this is a 12 by 16. Okay? So if I'm going to have to rearrange my camera here a little bit, so give me a second. We're going to start by trimming and squaring up that center welcome panel. Okay? So if you give me a second, I'm going to position the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. Now I have under my welcome here, this is my Martelli roundabout. This is a rotating mat, has like a Lazy Susan on the underneath. And these are so awesome. If you have not got one of these, if you've tried to use these round rotating mats, some of them just grab something terrible when you're trying to turn them. This is so smooth. It's like a Lazy Susan. And I use that when I do this kind of stuff just because it's easier to, I can turn it and work from the side that I need to. These little rulers are just a little tricky to get used to. It's taken me a little while because they have different sizes. We needed a rectangle for this inner side, this inner section, and it needs to be trimmed to 8.5 by 12.5. And so this ruler is actually, and you actually cut, believe it or not, on the inside of the ruler. That's what it's taking me a little while to get used to, because you have to cut on the inside. And so I have to be very careful and very methodical when I'm trimming these, because I have a little trouble slipping yet because I'm trimming on the wrong side of the ruler. Now this ruler, if you trim on the inside here, and so on, is 8.5 by 10.5. But I want this to be 8.5 by 12.5. So what's neat about these rulers is that this outside lip is 1 inch. So if I'm going to get this squared up in here, and oops, I have to do a little bit of eyeballing here. If you give me a second, let me turn this so it's a little straighter on my mat. And I kind of eyeball it. Honestly, that seems to be the best thing that works for me. I've tried measuring and it never seems to work. So I kind of eyeball it, and it's sort of like fussy cutting. So I'm going to trim, I need it to be 8.5 inches wide. So I'm going to trim along the inside of the upper and lower edge here. But I need it to be 12.5 inches long. So I'm going to trim on the outside of the ruler, on the outside edges, and that's 12.5, because remember I told you it was 10.5 inside, but there's a 1 inch lip on either end. So there's my 12.5. So that works really well when you're doing these rectangle style things, and then I can use the same rulers. So this works really great. So let me show you how these work. I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to try to be very careful so I don't slip. There's little rubber feet on the back of this so that it won't slip on me. I think I've got it pretty straight where I want it. So I'm going to hang on with my hands, and I'm going to very carefully, see how it's got these little lips in here? These little, they're like little overhangs so that your corners will turn out nice. I'm going to put the rotary cutter down in here, and I'm going to very slowly drive along the inside of this ruler all the way out to the other notch. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to go back over here. Let me put this up just a little bit so you can see it. I'm going to go down here where this notch is. Make sure your rotary cutter is way back in that notch. Get your blade across against the inside lip and just slowly drive. I have to be very methodical about this because I can slip off easy. Okay, now I want to cut on the outside of the ruler because I need it 12.5. So I'm going to flip it around this way. Hopefully you can still see. Pull the camera up this way just a little bit. I'm going to slide the whole thing over a little so you can see better. There we go. Now on this one, I'm going to drive on the outside of the ruler like I normally would. Okay? Because we need to make this 12.5 inches. I'm going to pull it back very carefully like this. And then I'm going to drive along the outside here. Okay, so there's my 12.5 inch length. Now when I take this off, there's a little section in here. There's a little 1 inch section that's not cut. So what you can do then is take your ruler and line up along the edge of that cut edge with the outside of the ruler, and now I can finish trimming that extra edge that didn't cut before. And these are so great. I do a lot of the quilts, and they're so wonderful for the quilts because they're just the right sizes for all the quilt blocks. But then you can do a few other sizes because of using the outside edges as well as the inside edges. I'm going to do this the same thing on this side. There's my extra piece. Okay, and out here. There we go. Must have got a little off there, but it's not going to be that bad. Okay. So then I've got an 8.5 by 12.5 center section for my welcome pillow. And it was done with this ruler. Like I said, there's 3 sizes of rectangle rulers and 3 sizes of square rulers. And I have them at the store, and they are really nice. I don't have any like square up rulers. And when I got these, it took me a little bit to get used to them because of, you know, of cutting on the inside. But they are really nice for doing these kind of things. And they're all very common sizes, like 4 by 4, I mean 4.5 by 4.5, 6.5 by 6.5, so on. And so they work for almost everything, not just the Kimberbell designs. Okay, so there is our 8.5 by 12.5 inch piece for the center. Get rid of this here. Anybody have any other questions about the trimming? Did that make sense to everybody what I did? What size is that turntable? The turntable is about, it must be about 15 inches in diameter. Let me measure it here quick. I think it was Margaret that asked that. Yeah, just a second here. I've got a tape measure. I'll measure it real quick. It is so nice. I've tried a lot of these round things. It's actually almost 17, Margaret. It's 16 3/4, the mat. There's also a ironing mat that you can take this part off, and then you can put an ironing mat on the top instead. And that's really handy because sometimes you need to turn things as you're ironing. And I really like this. It's called the Roundabout, and it's Martelli. Best mat I've ever had. I mean, I've tried all of those round ones, and none of them have worked well for me. So, okay, so we're going to get this out of our way, too. Let me get the blade out of the way. Okay, so now we're ready to do a little sewing here. And by the way, the instructions for the assembly of this pillow start on page 4, and it's step number 7 that I just did, that I just squared up the background to the 8.5 by 12.5. So, okay, so we'll lay this aside for a minute, and now we're going to work on the borders. So let me pull this back. Oops, I think I shut my cord into my drawer here. There we go. All right, so let's pull this down a little bit. And I remember the first one of these that I made, I was a little confused about what this instruction meant. So I had to read it real careful. It says arrange in random order the 24 2.5 by 2.5 inch blocks. So there are 6 blocks in 4 rows. And I'm like, why are there 6 blocks in 4 rows? Because we have one side that's shorter than the other. But the way they put it together is that all of the rows end up being the same size. Because you put the top and the bottom on first, and then the sides, and they actually are all the same size then. So it just, I couldn't figure it out at first. So what I have done, I have randomly laid my 2.5 inch squares, and I had 24 of them. I had all these polka dots, so all these different colors of polka dots. And I've laid them into 4 rows of 6. Now I did pre-sew some of these rows so you wouldn't have to sit here and watch me sew together all these little squares. So I'm just going to do 1 row tonight. And it says right sides together, sew each row together, press the seams and set aside. The seam allowance is 1/4 inch, like it is for most quilt projects. So I'm going to show you the 1/4 inch seam allowance that I'm going to use. So we'll move the camera over here so you can see my screen. I personally don't use a piecing foot very much. I like them. The one I use does not have a guide on it when I do use one, but my favorite way to piece is to use the piecing stitch and the standard J foot. I found that I get a more accurate 1/4 inch seam that way, and it goes over, like if I'm doing stuff, especially with triangles and stuff that has lots of bumps and lots of seam allowance, it goes over those bumps better. So I use on the quilting tab of your machine, it's on the Q tab, I'm already there, sorry, and I use Q02, which is the piecing stitch with the needle that goes towards the right, and I'll show you on my machine. Hopefully you can kind of see. I don't know if you'll be able to see the needle too well. The needle has moved towards the right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my fabric right along the right-hand edge of my foot, and that is 1/4 of an inch. What I do generally with this is I want a kind of a scant 1/4 inch, so I just tuck my fabric just under the edge of this foot, and it's a nice scant 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move these out of my way here so we can do this next row. Hopefully you can see. Let's see here. Best place to put the camera so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. Okay. I have Pima cotton thread in my machine, and we will, whoops, see, these are my first two. These are the last 4. Let's do this. Kind of had them in order, so see, I'll start with these 2 and bring them over, and then we'll do this 4. There we go. Okay, so here's my first 2. I'm going to line up my edges. I don't pin normally. Put my foot down, and I want to start with the fabric under the foot, and I want the needle to go down in fabric. I also lower my needle before I start sewing. I learned that from Grandma. And oh, hi Marilyn. And if you lower your needle before you start sewing, and if your thread is under your foot, it's very unlikely your machine will unthread. So we're going to do our 1/4 inch seam here. I'm running it just under the edge to get a nice scant 1/4 inch. Then then I'm going to cut, and I'm going to put another one on. So let's do a 3rd one here. I'm going to do all the ironing at the same time. Hopefully my iron cooperates with me and is still hot. I'm going to position this again. I'm going to drop my needle. These are harder to chain piece because they were all cut. I'm not like strip piecing these. Okay. So here's the 4th one. Again, I'm going to start on the fabric and drop my needle in the very edge of the fabric. I like to use my cutter. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to, I like the cutter. Oh, hi Donna. People are still coming in. So here's a 5th one. Right sides together here. Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with so many polka dotted fabrics, but I thought this would be a cute pillow with lots of different colors of polka dots. And drop my needle. Okay. And one last one. So you're going to make 4 of these, and there's 6 squares in each one. Looks like my thread decided to jump out from under my foot. There we go. I'm getting, my thread spool is getting low, so it's a teeny bit curly now, and it's rather humid. All right, so there's our last one. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And this is my 4th row, so I'm going to go ahead and press this. So I'll raise the camera up so you can see me press. I'm going to press the seams to one side, like I do for most quilting projects. See if you can see what I'm doing here. So I do have a little steam. Of course, I'm pressing and not ironing, so you don't want to get too vigorous that you'll get things to stretch on you. I always have found that I do better with a little steam. I know a lot of people don't press with steam, but it just seems to work better for me. So, okay. So here's my strip. Got a little bit of a crease in it there. Okay. So here's my 4 strips of 6 blocks. Okay. They're just kind of random. I kind of marked them. I'm going to put my iron over here so I don't burn myself. I kind of put them kind of in order, but I hope that they don't. Well, we'll see how it goes on the pillow when I go to put them on, huh? Okay, so we've got our 4 strips of 6 blocks. Then it says and that was steps number 8 and 9 on page 4. And then 10 says arrange a border along the top and bottom of the welcome pillow. So with any luck at all, one of these borders is the same width as the top and bottom of the welcome border. So let's take a look, see how Jan did. Okay, so here's our welcome. Hold this down just a little bit so you can see. There we go. All right, so we're going to put one of these borders on the top and one of these borders on the bottom. Let's see how I did with the sewing here. I think I did pretty well. I have a little trouble with seam allowances, so we'll see how I did. Looks like they're pretty close. All right, I'm going to go get me a couple of these little, I like these little binder, the little clover clips. What do they call them? Wonder clips, that's what they call them, right? Wonder clips, is that what I want to say? Get a couple of those and clip these on. Okay, so we're going to put one on the top and one on the bottom. Doesn't look like I did too well pressing that one, though. All right, let's get this clipped. See what I'm doing down here. So if I don't clip them, I usually end up with something really off. Okay. So we're going to stitch these at a 1/4 inch seam to the top and the bottom of the pillow. Give me a second here. Back to the machine. Hopefully, whoops. There we go. Okay. See how we did here. And remember, my center panel did have some of that shape flex on it, and so it gives it just a little body, which is nice. And then I really like that shape flex. I hadn't used it before. I started doing some of these Kimberbell quilts, and they recommended it, and I do really like it. Works very well. All right, so I'm going to get this all lined up here and do my 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Didn't do very well with the ironing there. I'll have to press it down again. And I've got the edge just barely tucked under my foot. Having difficulty with the camera tonight because I've got it in a different spot so you can see my ironing. I'm going to tip this over so I have a little more room to sew. Here we go. Now I can reach. My arms are very short, so I was having trouble reaching. Okay. There we go. So we got this one almost done. And we'll turn it around and we'll do the other side. Oops. Let's see how we do here. Again, I'm starting with the fabric under the foot, just under, and I want to drop that needle just down into the edge of the fabric. If you drop your needle down, like these machines, most of the machines that you have a feature called automatic height adjustment. And what that means is it automatically adjusts your presser foot pressure. Our older machines really had an issue that if you didn't have your fabric under the foot with the needle in it, it would just eat right down into that needle plate. Where do I get the instructions? Oh, Maria, it's on the group. The instructions for this pillow it's on the group. It's on Sew Along with Jan, and it's in the file section. You can download it. And there is a embroidery version and a sewn version. Okay, so we're going to get this. I'm doing my 1/4 inch seam, trying to keep my seams flat if I can. I think my seams were a little off on this one, so we're going to have to fudge a little bit. But, you know, it happens. I don't know why I think I had a couple of my I noticed a couple of my squares were a little bit biggish, so that's probably my problem. I'm not sure that my green square out here is going to be very good, so we'll see. Oops. My green square is going to be a little cattywampus here, I think. Okay. Okay, so I think that's my problem, is that I had, yeah, it's not too bad though. My green square is kind of sticking out the end here, and I think that was the one I thought seemed like it was so big when I was sewing it earlier. Okay, so here's my bottom row and my top row. Whoops, get my clips out of the way. Like this. So we're going to give that a press, and I usually press towards the row, so to keep the center nice and flat, and it's a little bit stiffer with that shape-like on it. So I'm going to press towards the row. Second here. So yeah, my green square is kind of hanging off, but you know, actually, I think it'll be all right. I noticed when I was sewing on it, it seemed kind of big, and I bet you I had one of the sides of the measurement was off. But you won't tell anybody, right? Okay, so now I'm going to have to do a little bit of squaring off on mine, because I had, like I said, I have one square that's kind of cattywampus here. So anyway, so I'm going to do the other sides now. Now, with any luck at all, they will match up. The luck I'm having so far, I may not have it match up for me. So let's take a look. That's why I was so surprised when I did this the first time, is that how did all these work? But it's because of the 2.5-inch squares. So here's our one side. We're going to take the other one. This is, I think it's on page 5. Yep. Number 11 and 12. Yes. So 12 is the other side. So I'm going to take this side, and then I'm going to kind of look at my sides. So my squares, you know, my colors are not like right next to each other. So I think I want this one to go this way. Remember the last one of these, I had to kind of play around with the colors a little bit. And yeah, this looks better. And I also had to, oh, this one looks good with that. Sometimes I like to have my seams going the opposite direction when I have to meet my seams together. Now, this one happens to already be that way, so it should be okay, but let's see what this one does. I think I want this one to go this direction. So we're going to do this one this way. I'll just clip it on there so I don't forget which direction I wanted it. And then this one, I think I want it to go this direction. I think that'll look better. So we'll go this way, and we'll see if our seams are going the opposite directions this time. Yep, I think those will be okay, actually. Okay, so I'll put a clip on this one so I don't get it mixed up. All right. So you can see that Jan is not, oops, this one I didn't get it going the right way. So like this one here is going the same direction as this one is right here. So I'm going to just turn this around with the iron so that it will lay flatter. I like to, they call it nesting the seams. So I'm actually going to turn that seam over so that it is going the other direction and quickly press it down. But I think this one's maybe going the right way. Let me see. Nope, they were both going the wrong way. So, oh no, they weren't. It was just the one. So I'm going to nest my seams right here. So here's the seam right here, and the seam between the first border and the body, like that. The one thing that I've always had trouble with is keeping my seams from, you know, moving away from each other. So I've learned that if I put a pin on either side of my seam, I put a pin in on both sides of the actual seam. It keeps it from moving around on me. And I actually do drive over the pins. Some people don't like to do that, and that's fine. But I buy these super, super little thin pins. I think I've done this in a class before. These are super, super little thin, very, very soft pins. And I drive over them very slowly. And I don't take them out, because if I take them out, my seams never match. All right, so then this one, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm just going to put a pin in each one of these seams just to keep them flat for me. I think it was just that one green block that was a little off, so this looks pretty good. All right, put a little pin in here. Oh, hi Lisa. Late but here. And then Megan's here. Okay, just a second here. Turn this around, and then we'll pin, whoops, I think we'll pin the other one before we go any further so that it doesn't slop around on me. So let's see, look at the seams here. So again, I want the seams to go opposite each other. So this one is good. This one goes this way, and this one goes to the other way. And then let's look at the other side. So I think those are both going the same direction. So I want to turn this, take this one and turn it over again so that it is, so I can nest them. So I'm going to turn it the other way and give it a little press here, hopefully. That way I can nest my seams, and so they're all beautiful. All right, so here is the first one. I think this one's good. Whoops, stabbed myself with a pin. I usually use the Wonder Clips, but when I'm doing nested seams, I use pins. Okay, so I've got my seam nested nicely, and I'm going to go ahead and pin on either side of that to keep it from moving on me. I especially do this if I'm doing like half square triangles and stuff like that, because it's so, you know, they can be so scoochy. All right, get this one. I'm doing this other one here. Now this is the one that I have this wonky green block out here, so don't pay attention to that. I think Jan cut one side 3 inches and the other side 2.5. So I think that's what the problem was. It's like, whoops. And let's go ahead and pin these down too, just keep them out of our way, because everything else is lining up. So I think it was just that one block. So just be careful when you're cutting. Sometimes I get too much in a hurry and I get off. All right, now, so we'll trim this off in a minute. Okay, so now we're ready for these borders. So we're going to start down here and do the same thing we did before. I'm going to get that lined up and nice and straight there. Just ignore that green part sticking out. I'm going to get this lined up. I want my needle to drop in just into the fabric. Now, when I'm doing a border like this, sometimes I'll actually, in this case I probably will, I'm going to tie a knot there, just so, whoops, looks like I unthreaded my needle. Try that again. Didn't quite have it under my foot, evidently. My thread is just a little curly tonight because it is humid. Okay, there we go. So now I can tie a knot. Get it lined up, put my needle down. There we go. And 1/4 inch seam. Yeah, all my other borders turned out really good, but just that one was a little bit of a problem, wasn't it? Oops. And you see that I went over the pins, but I'm not going over them very fast. And I do go through a lot of pins. I bend a lot, and I throw away a lot of pins by doing this. But my seams and my nested seams line up really nicely. Okay, let's take the pins out of here so I don't stab myself. And then we will turn it around and do the other side. Yeah, I had a couple of them that were kind of offish, didn't I? My yellow one's kind of too. Okay, get this one lined up. Again, dropping my needle right on the edge of the fabric. I think I'm going to tie a knot there. Looks pretty good. I remember I was cutting these and I had lots of scraps, so I was probably trying to be as economical as possible. So I'm going to tie my knot on the other end. And I must have gotten a couple of my measurements off. Okay, let's see how we did here. So I want to make sure that my nested corners look really nice and smooth, and they look good. So here's my other side, like that. Okay. They all look pretty good. Like that. That looks pretty good. So I think we're okay here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press these out towards the borders as well. So let's get those pressed out. There we go. And there's the whole top. Doesn't that turn out cute? With all my funky polka dots. I may have to look at my corner again, but I can always rip it out later. I spend a lot of time ripping. After class, sometimes I have to go back and fix things. So I think I have a problem with this block still. See how narrow this block is? So something is a little amiss down here. So I will fix that later. But we'll continue on, and I can always rip it out. I'm very good at unsewing. So, okay. So we have our top with our little borders on it. The next thing we have to do is prepare an envelope back so we can put it on the back. So has anybody ever done an envelope back? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say an envelope back? It's going to be so that you can slide your pillow in without having to do any zippers or any buttons. They work really slick, very easy. So here's the envelope back. We're gonna do some hemming. Yay! Somebody's got the little thumbs up. So we're gonna do an envelope back. Okay. So I have pre-pressed these, and what you want to do is on the 12.5-inch side, you want to press under 1/4 of an inch, and then another 1/4 of an inch. So you have a nice little hem to stitch down. I think I got this one a little bit off, so let me see if I've got, oh, there we go. Must have pressed it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so these are both pressed down so that we can stitch these down. I'm going to do a top stitch. And I usually then go to my other piecing stitches, 2 piecing stitches. One is the 1/4 inch piecing, and the other one is with the needle in the center. So then I'm going to go to Q01 and use my needle in the center for this one, so I can see where I'm going. And, oops, get it all lined back up again. And I like to sew about 1/8 of an inch from this inside edge. And there's a couple little marks on your foot that can really help you. The edge of the foot where this crack is, and then there's a middle little notch right there. You can kind of see my fingernail grabbing on it. That's about 1/8 of an inch, and that works really well to help you to judge how far away you are. So I'm going to again drop my needle, and I'm going to right into the fabric, and I'm going to I'm going about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. From the inside edge, I should say. But the foot has a lot of little marks on it, and they're very useful for helping you judge how straight you are. So there's my first little seam. I did actually sew from the back, as you saw. That seems to work better for me. Okay, then we're going to do the second one. Drop my needle. Did anybody have a grandmother or a mother that taught you that little trick, the drop your needle trick into the fabric? I got along for a long time without a machine with a automatic height adjustment, and I don't notice it all the time now if you don't drop your needle, but if with that automatic height adjustment you don't need to as much. But boy, I'm so used to doing it now that I still drop my needle. Okay, so here's the second one. All right, we got that nice and straight on there, and that was instruction number 13. Now be careful if you're doing something that's directional, like when I did the, oh yes, your mother, yep, Deb, it was my grandma. So okay, sometimes fabric is directional when you're doing these backs, like this is directional. So I had to be careful that I laid it out. Get this pulled out, there we go. I had to make sure that I laid this out so that I had them going the same direction so they didn't look weird, because I have easily, ask me how I know, I've easily turned one of the directions upside down and then the back looked weird. So just make sure you're hemming. If you have something that's directional, make sure the hem so that is on the sides, that they will match up and they'll be the same direction when you put them together. So I've done that a few times. I had to really work at this one to make sure I got it right. Okay. So this one is not directional, however, so I didn't have to be quite so careful with this one. So what it says to do is these are going to be right sides together. This is different than the one that we will do later. We're going to do a different type of finish on the settee pillows. And if some of you did the one in March, we do a different kind of finish on that one. So this is going to be right sides together. So I'm going to lay welcome right side up. Then I'm going to lay my two backs with the hems inside. So I'm going to lay the first one down, and I'm going to match up all my raw edges. Let me stand up and pull this up so you can see it better. Pull it up on the table so you can see the whole thing. Be a little easier. Okay, so I've got my raw edges even, and the hem is in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other piece. Make sure all my raw edges are together. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the other piece. They're going to overlap about 3 inches or so. When I do pillows that I'm making my own patterns, I like them to overlap maybe 3 or 4 inches in the center, so that they won't gap open when you're trying to, when you get the pillow in there. So you want them to overlap enough so that they don't get gappy here in the center. All right, so I think we're pretty good here. Let's see if I got that corner. Okay, then I'm going to take my Wonder Clips, and I'm going to clip around the outside edge. So I want to make sure I get those edges here clipped down so that they're not going anywhere. Get my corners nice and even. Again, my right sides are together. Let's go down and get these, make sure these are nice and straight at the bottom. I'll pull this back a little bit more so you can see the bottom. There we go. Get these two. It's kind of important to get the clips like right on where those seams are, where the hems were, just so that things don't flip over on you. Oops, looks like I need a couple more clips here. They're in the drawer right below the camera. right? You do the corners. And the edges. All right. There, that looks pretty good. So we got all of those clipped on. And what's neat about these is you just sew all the way around the outside edge with a 1/4 inch seam. So you don't have to stop. You just go all the way around the outside edge. So I'm going to go back to my Q02 1/4 inch piecing stitch. So it moved my needle over here again. And I'm just going to start. Doesn't really matter where you start. I'm sure everything looks pretty lined up. I might actually flip this over. I like to sew from this side, but I noticed that I must be a little off on this bottom edge. So it might be easier if I flip this over so I can see what my bottom edge is doing here. Jan sometimes is not the straightest cutter, I have to say. I am kind of crooked. I'm terrible with the rotary cutter. I love my Sizzix machine because then things are actually straight. As evidenced with that 2.5 inch square that's sticking out over there. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Drop the needle, and you can just start anywhere you want. We're going to drive all the way around the pillow. Take the clip out. I am using the border as my edge. I had this little edge that was a little off. Yeah, I'm kind of dangerous for the rotary cutter. I've cut myself so many times, and I even have a scar on my elbow from a rotary cutter. I hit it with my elbow once. So don't let me near a rotary cutter unless it's absolutely necessary. Okay, we're going to drop the needle so we can turn the corner. Get our 1/4 inch seam here. Trying to keep my seams from flipping up so that they're nice and flat. Okay, getting closer here. Oops. Get this one out of my way so I don't hit it. Down to the end, I'm going to drop the needle in the corner so I can pivot. Okay. All right. Oops, second here. I've got, this is that seam that wanted to flip up on me, so a second, make sure I get it nice and flat here. There we go. This was really a fun pillow to do. I brought one of these for my dad for Father's Day. He loves stuff that I make, so I made him a patriotic welcome pillow. So one of the welcome pillows that was the patriotic ones is up at Dad's now on his it's actually on the Victrola. He has like a old-fashioned looking turntable sitting in his living room, and it's sitting up there. He loves stuff that I make. My mother was a crafter and made things too, and so he's been around her and myself our whole lives. So he actually is very open to homemade gifts. He likes me to making things. So that was one of his Father's Day gifts, was a welcome pillow. And he says, I want it in the living room so I can look at it. So, all right, we're getting around. This is the third side. Okay, let's see how I did here. We'll take this one off. Looks like I'm doing okay. Yeah, I must have had just that one block. Well, I may have to take this out and redo it, but it might be okay. We'll take a look at it when we turn it right side out. Okay, there's my corner. Then let's make sure we get it lined up here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And we're all the way around. So I'm going to tie a knot. I like to tie a knot in place instead of backing up because that way things don't veer off. All right, let's see how we did here. So I think we got all the way around. Looks okay. And then the last step is turning your pillow right side out. And this is something else that my grandmother taught me, and I'm going to show you how to do this as well. Hopefully I can find my point turner. It's the one thing I didn't get out of my drawer this last night when I was getting ready for class. So I've got my point turner. Have you seen these things? These are from Floriani. These are the most wonderful little tools because they have a little ball end on them so that they don't go through your corners. But the one thing that I never do is I never clip a corner, because if you clip a corner, what happens? If you clip across these little 1/4 inch seams, whatever you do to get your corners to come out is going to pop right through the end, and you're going to have a hole. So my grandmother taught me how to do this, and I show this to people over and over again, and it's amazing. I'm going to put my first finger into the corner of the pillow. Okay. I'm going to pull the seam allowance towards me. So that 1/4 inch seam allowance, I've turned it towards me. And then I'm going to push in the 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm actually making a corner. So here's the fold, and I'm making a corner right here. I'm not going to trim these at all. I'm going to hang on to it with my finger. I've got a hold of it with my thumb, and I'm going to turn it right side out. And I'm going to have a perfect corner in the corner, and I did not clip. So that way I know that I'm not going to have a hole there. So let's do another one. So I do these as I go. Put my index finger, my first finger, into the corner. I'm going to turn it towards me down to the seam allowance, and I'm going to push it into the seam allowance. So I'm basically making the corner before I turn it. Okay, so here's the corner, and I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and then I'm going to turn it right side out, and it's going to be a beautiful square corner without clipping. Okay. Hi, Terry. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do another one. So I've learned to do these pretty quick now, but man, I always have nice corners, and this even works if you've got bulk in here. So I'm going to pull it towards me, and I'm going to push the seam in. So I've made my seam. I'm going to hold on to it real tight and turn it. So even if you have very bulky seams, it's still going to work. Now I do use my point turner just to finish them up. Oops, I got to find the last. Here's the last corner. Got one more corner here. Okay. I'm going to pull it towards me, push it in, make the corner like this, and then turn it. And it's nice and pointy. So if I get a little bulk in these corners, then what I do is I take my point turner, and then I can just finish them off with the point turner just to make them a little bit more pointed. This one is not very bulky, so it's a thinner fabric, so it came out, all my corners came out without using the point turner. But sometimes if I have something a little bulky, I have to. But it works even if you've got batting in them. You know, it really does. Now this one here could use a little turn. So I'm going to just put my point turner up in there and just give it a little push so that it laid flatter. Okay, so that one's nice and square also. So I did not trim those. Now let's see how my wonky block looks. Actually, it looks okay. I don't know if most people would notice it. So what do you think? Does it look that bad? Should I rip it out? It's that green one right there. What do you think? Does it look too weird? I might have to still rip it out. Okay, so I'm going to give this a press. Let me pull the camera up, and we'll give this a press so it's nice and flat. Maybe you'll see my wonky block more if I hold it up like this. So let's give this a nice press. I like to press them nice and flat before I put the pillow forms in them, so it's not all wrinkly. This one's kind of wrinkly after I turned it right side out. So we'll give it a press. think it's going to be really cute. Has lots of bright colors in it. So what I did is I had several different colors of backings. So I made a few of these kits, and I have matching thread around the welcome that matches the back fabric. So this one was kind of a pretty turquoise, light turquoise color. So that's the color I chose for my welcome outline around the welcome in the center. And I think the other one I have to put together is light blue. So I'll probably do that one tonight too. So they're both done. I don't have any pillow forms though. I forgot to go get a pillow form the other night. So I haven't got one to put this one in, but it is 12, again, 12 by 16. So it's a nice standard one. I get most of my pillow forms at Hobby Lobby because theirs are really soft. Some of them that I find at Joann's are kind of stiff. So I like the softer ones a little bit better. So that's where I usually get them. And they often have a coupon. Sometimes they're on sale, so I can buy a whole bunch at the same time. So I think I used a coupon the other day on one. All right, we're almost around. Trying to get my seams nice and even. And then I might need to give my center a little bit of a press too. But that looks pretty good. Even though it has that wonky block in the corner, I don't think you're going to really notice it. You guys will have to come and give me some cutting lessons. See if I can get my cutting better. Cutting is quite an art for people that are really good cutters. What do you think? Does it look okay? Oh, we got a couple comments. Let me scroll down here in a second. Looks fine, looks fine. Don't you think it looks okay? It looks great the way it is. I think it's okay. I don't think it's that off, but it is a little bit narrower there. I noticed that it was a little narrower. So, but I'll look at it and measure it. If it looks really bad to me, I'll take it apart again. You know, it's just unsewing. So, so what do you think? So here's our little pillow. Isn't it cute? I just thought these were awfully cute little pillows, and they're so easy, and you can do them either sewn or embroidered. So I thought it was a really fun project. This is the finished one that I did with the patriotic fabric. So I can show you that one. That one didn't have a wonky block in it, so I may go back and fix it. I'm kind of a perfectionist, as you may have guessed. So excellent, looks good. Thanks. Yeah, so I really liked. This was a fun project, and I enjoyed these. So next week, we will work on the Home of the Brave pillow. We're going to do the embroidery next week. And if you, Deb says her inspection says it's great. Well, that is great, because I'll measure it, but it is just a little off, but it's not terrible. So I wonder if I maybe had a little bit of a problem here too. Who knows? I like I said, I'm not very good with the rotary cutter. So, okay. So next week, at 6 o'clock, we will start the Home of the Brave pillow. So if you want to sew along, you can let me know by personal message, and I will send you a PayPal invoice for the $10. And that pillow, for those of you who are new to the settee pillows, that pillow is a 12 by 22 pillow, so it's a little longer. It's a long, skinny pillow. I get those at Hobby Lobby as well. That seems to work the best for me. That one's a pretty normal one, but I don't see that size everywhere. And so we'll do that for the next 2 weeks. So we'll work on that. So is there any questions? Any questions, anybody? I think it's a fun project. I like making pillows. I've been making a lot of pillows lately. So, and I did a pillow for the Shop Hop, and it says quilt on it. I think I showed you maybe last week. So that one turned out really cute too. So I've been doing some pillows for different things. Okay, anybody got any questions? Everybody can finish their welcome pillows now and have their little welcome pillows done. I'm anxious to see them, so when you get them done, please post them on the group so I can see what they look like, because everybody's fabric will be different. So much fun to see them when they're all done. Isn't it cute? I thought it was cute, Connie. I like it. I thought it was cute. Okay? All right. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for the little hearts. Oh, I'm getting little hearts. Those are cute. The little thing, they float around. It looks like little bubbles. So next week we will work on Home of the Brave. And then the following project, I haven't decided yet. I've got two in mind. So either the project bag or the little pin cushion. So that'll be in July then. So we might take the week of 4th of July off. And we have a software class that week. So we may take that week off of Sew Along with Jan. So anybody else have a question or anything? I think everybody's, what is the name of your turner? Oh, the turner, Judy, is from Floriani. It's just point turner is what it's called. Point turner. And I have them at the store in Iowa City. I'm not sure if there's any in Davenport, but I do have them in the store. So I can send it down if you need it in Davenport. I can't remember which store you were closer to. But I love these. They work great. And they're very, the little ball end is very smooth so it doesn't poke through things. So, okay. Yep, so these we can get these at the store. They're at Shields. So, all right. So I will see you all next week, and I'm anxious to see your little welcome pillows. So make sure you're posting them when you get them done. So good night, everybody. Thank you. Have a good evening.